In this video, we're going to learn how to simplify roots. So the two types of roots that we're going to be dealing with are square roots and cube roots, which is the one with a 3 on top of the radical. So our first step when simplifying roots is to factor the number underneath. And what we're looking for is all prime numbers. These are the 4 numbers that we're going to be mostly dealing with: 2, 3, 5, and 7. So if you see one of those 4 numbers, you know you can stop. Alright, so let's go ahead and factor this. So we always start with the biggest prime number. So let's see if 20 divides by 7. It does not, because it's a decimal. So now we go to our next biggest number, which is 5. So that is a whole number, which means that 5 is a factor. So we're going to include 5 and 4. Okay, so 5 is a prime number, so we stop with that, but then 4 is not, so we need to keep going. So let's do 4 divided by 5. Alright, decimal, so it doesn't work. We'll do 4 divided by 3. Decimal, so it doesn't work. So now 4 divided by 2. Alright, so that does work. So we have 2 and 2. So now we're at all prime numbers. We're ready to do step 2, which says circle groups of 2 for a square root or 3 for a cube root. And for each group, 1 copy can come out of the root. So let's go ahead and rewrite this. So I have a 5, a 2, and a 2. So there's no number outside, which means it's the invisible 2 or the square root. So I'm looking for groups of 2. 1, 2. There's not a group of 2 for 5, so that's going to stay inside. So for each group, 1 copy can come out. So I have 1 group of 2s, so 1 2 is going to come outside. And then inside is 5. And then step 3 says simplify. So 2 to the 1 is just 2. Alright, let's try this next one. So again, our first step is to factor the number under the radical. So let's see if 576 divides by 7. It does not, because it's a decimal. So let's go to the next one. Does not, because it's a decimal. Okay, so this works. So I got 3 and 192. So now let's divide 192 by 3 again. Okay, so that works. We got 3 and 64. We got to keep going because 64 is not a prime number. Okay, so it didn't divide by 3, so now let's try dividing by 2. Okay, that worked. Okay, 32 is not prime, so we got to keep going. Okay, so that worked. We got 2 and 16. 16 is not prime, so we keep going. Okay, that worked. So we got 2 and 8. 8 is not a prime number, so we keep going. Okay, so 2 and 4. And 4 is not a prime number, so we keep going. So we got 2 and 2. So now I'm at all prime numbers. Alright, so now I'm ready to simplify this radical. So I'm going to write everything we have inside the radical. So we have 3, 3, and 6 2s. Okay, so now I'm going to circle groups of 2 or 3. So I have a 3 outside, which means I need groups of 3. So 1, 2, nope. 1, 2, 3, yes. 1, 2, 3, yes. So for each group, 1 copy comes outside. So here's a group of 2s. I have 2 groups of 2, so it's going to be 2 to the 2. And then inside, I have 3 and 3. So now I'm going to simplify. So 2 to the 2 is 4, and then 3 times 3 is 9. All right, let's move on to the next one. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing. Step 1, factor the number. So I'm going to do 5040 divided by 7. Okay, so that works. 7's prime, but 720 is not. Alright, I got a decimal, so that doesn't work. So now let's move to the next one, which is 5. Alright, so I got 5 and 144. 5 is prime, 144 is not. So we got to keep going with that. Okay, we got decimal, so that doesn't work. Let's try dividing by the next biggest number, which is 3. All right, so we got 3 and 48. We keep going. Okay, that works. All right, we got a decimal, so that doesn't work. So now we're gonna have to go down to 2s. All right, so there we go. So now we're done with our factor tree. All right, so now let's write what we have inside. All right, we got 7, 5, 3, 3, 2, 2, 2, and 2. All right, so now there's no number outside, which means it's a square root, so we're looking for groups of 2. Let's see, 1, 2, no, 2, no, 1, 2, yes, 1, 2, yes, 1, 2, yes. All right, so now we gotta bring out our groups. So 7 and 5 are gonna stay inside. I have one group of 3s, so 3 to the 1, and 2 groups of 2, so 2 to the 2. So now step 3, simplify. So 3 to the 1 is just 3, times 2 squared, that's 4, so 3 times 4 is 12. And then 7 times 5 is 35. All right, let's try this last one with letters. So with letters, it's a little bit different. There's no number to factor, so we're gonna write out how many copies we have of each letter. So I have 3 copies of X and 4 copies of Y. All right, so now it's a square root, so I'm gonna look for 2 copies. 2, 2, and 2. All right, so I'm bringing out one group of X, 2 groups of A, and then I have an X left over inside. So this one, X to the 1 is just X. A squared, we have to leave as A squared. So then this is our final answer.